Welcome to Bioscholar, where science is explained with clarity and purpose. Today, we take our first step into ecology, the study of how living things connect with each other and with their environment. Nothing in nature stands alone. Every organism is part of a larger system that stretches from a single cell to the entire biosphere. Understanding ecology isn't optional. It's the key to understanding life and protecting our planet's future. First of all, let's discuss what is ecology. Basically, the word ecology comes from the Greek words oikos, meaning house or environment, and logos, meaning study. So at its core, ecology means the study of the home of living things, how organisms live, interact, and depend on their surroundings. Now, the surroundings of an organism, what we call the environment, are made up of two major parts. These are called components of the environment. Let's discuss them in detail. First, biotic components. These are the living parts of the environment. Plants, animals, fungi, bacteria, every organism that is alive or was once alive falls under biotic components. They interact, compete, depend on each other, and form the living network of nature. The other group is called abiotic components. These are the non-living physical and chemical factors. Things like sunlight, water, air, soil, temperature, and minerals. Even though they aren't alive, they strongly influence where organisms can live and how ecosystems function. Now that we understand what makes up an organism's environment, the biotic and abiotic components, it's time to look at how life is arranged within that environment. Nature isn't random. It's organized in clear levels, starting from one individual organism and expanding all the way to the entire biosphere. This structure is what we call the levels of ecological organization. So, every ecological study begins with the organism, a single living individual. Let's say, one bird, one tree, or one fish, each living its own life, trying to survive in its environment. At this level, we focus on how that individual behaves, how it finds food, how it adapts, and how it interacts with whatever surrounds it. For example, how a single sparrow searching for seeds, reacting to temperature, avoiding predators, and using its own abilities to survive. This one organism is the foundation for every higher level in ecology. Once we understand an individual, we can move forward to see how many individuals of the same kind form the next level. When many individuals of the same species live together in the same place, facing the same conditions and sharing the same resources, they form a population. A population isn't random. It's a group connected by reproduction, food needs, and survival challenges. For example, all the sparrows living in one park form a sparrow population. They eat from the same area, respond to the same weather, and compete for the same food sources. At this level, we study how populations grow, how they interact within their own species, and how factors like food, space, and predators affect their numbers. Understanding population behavior helps us see how one species fits into the bigger picture, leading naturally to the next level. A population never lives alone. In every environment, different species share the same space: plants, animals, insects, fungi, microorganisms, all interacting in countless ways. When these different populations live together and influence each other, they form a community. For example, in the same park where sparrows live, you'll also find grass, trees, butterflies, ants, and earthworms as well. All these populations together create a park community. At this level, we study how species interact, competition for food, predator-prey relationships, mutual help, and how the presence of one population affects another. The community level shows us that no species survives in isolation. Every life form is part of a larger network. When we add the non-living factors to this community, we reach the next ecological level. Now a community cannot exist on its own. Every living thing depends on the non-living conditions around it: light, water, air, soil, temperature, minerals. When we combine a community of living organisms with these abiotic factors, we get an ecosystem. For example, that same park, its soil, its sunlight, temperature, ponds, sparrows, plants, insects, microbes all interacting as one functioning unit. In an ecosystem, we study how energy flows, how nutrients cycle, how organisms depend on physical factors, and how balance is maintained. The ecosystem level reveals the complete picture of life, living organisms plus their physical environment working together. From here, we zoom out even further to understand how large regions of similar ecosystems form the next level. The biosphere is the highest and broadest level of ecological organization. When you combine all the biomes of the Earth, deserts, forests, oceans, grasslands, tundra, and everything in between, you get one complete layer where life exists. This thin, life-supporting envelope includes the land, the water bodies, and even the lower atmosphere. It's the global zone where every organism, from tiny microbes to giant whales, plays its part. For example, planet Earth itself functioning as one interconnected system, oceans influencing climate, forests producing oxygen, soil supporting plants, and organisms depending on each other across continents. The biosphere shows the final picture, all life forms and all ecosystems woven together into one giant, living network. Before we move ahead, there are two other terms in ecology that students must understand clearly, because they describe where an organism lives and how it lives. A habitat is the natural home of an organism, the place where it finds everything it needs to survive: food, water, shelter, and suitable conditions. Think of habitat as the address of an organism. For example, a frog's habitat is a pond. A camel's habitat is the desert. A sparrow's habitat is trees and gardens. Every organism has a habitat that matches its needs. If the habitat changes too much, survival becomes difficult. On the other hand, a niche is the role an organism plays in its environment, how it uses resources, how it gets food, how it interacts with other organisms, and how it contributes to the ecosystem. Think of niche as the profession or job of an organism within its habitat. For example, a sparrow living in a garden has a niche too. It feeds on seeds and small insects, helps in seed dispersal, and provides food to predators like cats or hawks. Two species may share a habitat, but they rarely have the exact same niche, because that would lead to competition. Here is the simple link between the two concepts. Together, these two terms help us understand not just where an organism exists, but how it fits into the ecological system. So, ecology isn't just about plants and animals, it's about the structure that connects all life, from a single organism to the entire biosphere. When we understand habitats, niches, and the levels of organization, we start to see the world the way nature actually works: linked, balanced, and purposeful. This was Bioscholar, bringing you science with clarity and meaning. Stay curious, stay consistent, and I'll see you in the next lesson.